Rachel Zegler, Snow White 2. Yeah, I don't think so, y'all.
I needed a job. I'm being so serious.
Let's start from the beginning. Midnight in London. Rain slicks the pavement outside the Palladium. Taxi headlights pooling in neon puddles, while a restless crowd swells from a few dozen curious passers-by to more than 1,000 phones held high in the damp night air. On the ornate balcony above, a single spotlight snaps on, and there's Rachel Zegler in a crisp, white satin suit, gripping the railing like it's the prow of a ship. Without warning, she launches into "Don't Cry for Me, Argentina," her voice ricocheting off century-old stone and spilling into side streets where late-night kebab vendors pause mid-pour.
It's Hollywood, baby.
Inside the theatre, patrons who paid up to £250 stare at a jumbo screen, broadcasting the same moment they can almost, but not quite, hear through the walls. Some cheer the audacity. Others mutter that they've been turned into unwilling extras in a viral stunt. By the final soaring note, TikTok is already flooding with shaky clips captioned "iconic" and "refund please." Genius guerrilla theatre, or the desperate flair of an actress fighting to keep the spotlight burning. Stick around, because the line between bold and burnt out has never looked thinner, and tonight, it's written in neon against a wet London sky. Rachel Zegler's origin story begins in Clifton, New Jersey, population 85,000, and exactly one Broadway show away from Manhattan. On Friday nights, she wasn't at football games. She was in the basement editing YouTube covers of waitress ballads for her 3,000-subscriber channel. By senior year, she'd cycled through Belle, Beauty and the Beast, Ariel, The Little Mermaid, Fiona, Shrek, and Dorothy Brock, 42nd Street, earning 4 Paper Mill Playhouse Rising Star nominations, still a record for any New Jersey teen. Then destiny slid in via Twitter DM. When Steven Spielberg announced an open search for West Side Story, Rachel joked, "Where do I audition?" before firing off a shaky iPhone tape of I Feel Pretty. Casting directors sifted through 30,000 submissions. 2 weeks later, she found herself on a Midtown soundstage, reading opposite Ansel Elgort. Spielberg called on January 9, 2019, a date she later inked on her forearm, to say, "You're my Maria." Filming wrapped in early 2020, just in time for the world to shut down. When the musical finally opened in December 2021, critics handed it a 93% Rotten Tomatoes score, and Rachel the youngest ever Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy. Box office reality, however, was brutal. $10.5 million opening weekend, $76 million total against a $100 million budget, another casualty of the Omicron wave. D23 Expo, September 2022. Amid gold leaf and a 30-foot storybook backdrop, Disney unveils its first Latina Snow White. Progressive blogs cheer. Traditionalist corners bristle. The real gasoline arrives a year later, when Rachel, asked if the 1937 classic still resonates, quips, "The prince is basically a stalker. Snow won't be dreaming about true love. She'll be dreaming about leading." Clips shred across TikTok. Hashtag Not My Snow White trends for 3 days straight. Then Peter Dinklage calls the original dwarfs backward, sparking another avalanche. Disney hastily scraps practical actors in favor of CGI magical creatures of diverse sizes and genders. A pivot that fuels both praise and parody. Reshoots balloon the budget to $270 million. Sets wait out dual strikes. And the release shifts twice, finally landing on March 21, 2025. PR analysts mutter that if ticket sales sag, Rachel will be the easiest scapegoat. November 5, 2024. Donald Trump claws back. At 1:14 a.m., Rachel posts a note screenshot reading, "May Trump, his voters and supporters never know peace." 8 words, no profanity, yet they land like C4. Conservative anchors dub her Disney's ticking time bomb, while progressive fans debate freedom of speech versus reading the room. Calls to #boycott Disney surge. Studio brass reportedly hire a social media guru to pre-screen every future post. By dawn, she's deleted the rant and issued a 3-paragraph apology, blaming emotional whiplash. Screenshots, however, are forever, and Disney's marketing department quietly removes her face from half the tie-in product mock-ups. March 2023. Shazam! Fury of Gods launches with Rachel as Anthea. Opening? 30 million. Worldwide total, a modest 134 million, barely half the break-even point. December 2024. A24's nostalgia comedy Y2K bows to 2.1 million, then plummets 72% week 2. Even a 1954 reissue of White Christmas edges past it on holiday charts. March 21st, 2025. Snow White finally struts into 43 200 screens, $50 million tracking decays to 42.6 million actuals. The second weekend drops 66% to 14.3 million. Final worldwide haul stalls at $205 million, locking in red ink once marketing is counted. Producer Mark Platt's son publicly blames Rachel's immature social posts, then deletes the Instagram story, but not before media outlets screenshot it. Disney shutters the merch line, scraps a planned theme park parade float, and scales its LA premiere down to a single-screen photo call at El Capitan. No Q&A, no live orchestra. Director Jamie vows punk rock Evita rewrites theater etiquette. Each night, at 9:45 p.m. sharp, Eva Peron, Rachel in a tailored white suit, strides onto the London Palladium balcony, raises a crystal mic, and sings to whoever's clogging Argyle Street. Inside, the paying crowd watches on a 26-foot LED screen. Some call it immersive genius, others a 250 live stream. But the internet votes with views. The first clip hits 10 million overnight, and a Spotify single, both studio and live versions, tops the West End chart for 3 weeks straight. Ticket prices tell the other half of the story. Preview seats start at £150, drop to £65 mid-run, and, during a rainy Wednesday in July, hit a desperate pay-what-you-want threshold. Yet the sidewalk outside still packs tighter than the stalls. Even Andrew Lloyd Webber chimes in on social, calling it the best-performed Evita I've ever seen. Viral redemption? Yes, but also a reminder that spectacle alone can't mend a battered reputation. Multiple crew members from Snow White leak claims that Rachel would suggest feminist rewrites without clearing producers, leaving veteran writers white-knuckling their laptops. Reddit threads paint her as brilliant but bossy. Disney's consumer products arm quietly replaces her likeness with Gal Gadot's Evil Queen on Blu-ray art. An unheard-of switch, unless branding turns radioactive. Endorsement fallout follows. A mid-six-figure beauty brand deal dissolves in mutual agreement. And a luxury jeweler's global campaign swaps her for Jenna Ortega at the 11th hour. Rachel's longtime stylist quits, citing schedule conflicts, only to surface dressing Zendaya a month later. Trade blogs whisper the dreaded adjective, difficult. But difficulty is relative. One veteran agent reminds Variety, men get called demanding. Women get career-ending labels. The comment threads light up, proving that even backlash can signal cultural relevance. Hollywood loves binaries. Hit or flop. Saint or sinner. But Rachel Zegler's tale refuses a tidy box. She straddles a fault line paved with equal parts Golden Globe glitter and Twitter grenades. And every scroll on your phone nudges her fate a millimeter one way or the other. If the industry were a choose-your-own-adventure novel, she's hovering at that dog-eared fork in the story, where one turn leads to rehab stint punchlines and the other to a jaw-dropping, "How did she survive that?" montage set to Harry Styles. Studios decide the juice isn't worth the drama.
Brand deals dry up faster than a January pilot season, and a new crop of media-trained ingenues slide into roles once earmarked Zegler type. Think Brendan Fraser during his decade in the desert, only without the nostalgia goodwill, or Lindsay Lohan's wilderness years before the Netflix Christmas comeback. Interviews get rarer, then nostalgic, then non-existent. One day, a streaming algorithm buries West Side Story behind 12 new suggested-for-you titles, and casual viewers mumble, "Oh right, whatever happened to her?"
She pulls a Downey Jr., weaponizing every misstep into an irresistible origin myth. Picture an 8-episode limited series on Netflix or Max, in which she plays a thinly veiled version of herself. A cancelled star navigating fan culture, trolls, and her own hubris. The trailer alone would spawn discourse videos, reaction TikToks, and think pieces in The Atlantic about post-cancel authenticity. If the show pops, she's suddenly the face of resilience merch, book deals, a tiny desk concert, maybe even a surprise album produced by Lin-Manuel Miranda. The same pundits who wrote her off start calling her the voice of Gen Z chaos.
Unlike the studio bosses of old, modern audiences wield mouse clicks like mini green lights. Every like, share, stitch, or hate watch feeds the algorithmic dragon. And algorithms don't grade morality, they grade engagement. If you've made it this far, you're already part of the dataset, deciding whether Path A or Path B lights up on tomorrow's streaming dashboard. Was calling the prince a stalker a badly timed feminist mic drop? Or the hot take a new generation needed? Was the balcony stunt a democratization of theatre? Or a £250 live stream prank on paying fans? Scroll down and declare your verdict. I read every scorching hot take, quiet defense, and 3-word roast. Smash like if you believe chaos fuels creativity. Hit dislike if you demand a refund, and subscribe because Hollywood's wildest live-action fairy tale hasn't reached its final page. The apple's still half-eaten, still poisonous, and if we're honest, still irresistibly shiny. Stick around. The next bite might just decide whether it's a happily ever after or a permanent page in the cautionary tale chapter of the industry playbook.